Hello and welcome to a new ship tour and video of the Cruise Vibes, and today we're gonna take a look at the MS Deutschland, a very unique cruise ship of the German company Reisen, originally built for Helmsman, a company that does not exist anymore. And as always, we're starting with a few general facts. The ship is 175.3 meters long, 23 meters wide, and has a gross tonnage of 22,496. With up to 550 guests and 290 crew members. She is a very small cruise ship, originally intended for the luxurious market in Germany, built in the year of 1998. After the original company Helmsman went bankrupt, Reisen took the ship over, and since then it is part of the fleet of Reisen. It is a very unique ship with a absolutely stunning interior, and we're gonna take a look at it now. We're starting on a lowest deck, which is called the Kur deck, which you can translate to spa deck. Because there is only the spa area. As you can see here, there's a spa area with an indoor swimming pool and stone lounges that are heated. We have this unique bathtub, and we can take a look at those pictures here. And already here you can see that this ship has a very unique interior design that reminds a bit of old ocean liners like the Titanic and other famous old ships. You won't find any other ship in this world with a design like this that is still existing. Maybe some of the sailing cruise ships like a Staff Clipper might have an interior design like this, but no other regular cruise ship looks like MS Deutschland, a very unique ship. The name of course translates to MS Germany. The ship was built with this name, has never changed its name, except for every winter when the ship becomes the World Odyssey for Semester at Sea. So quite a unique concept, Semester at Sea and Reisen are sharing the ship. But we're taking a look at this ship as the MS Deutschland for Reisen. Here we can see the staircase. Also here you can see the unique design again. And we are on the Steuermann Deck now, which means Helmsman Deck. And I'm not traveling with MS Deutschland, I was just visiting the ship when she was here for disembarkation and embarkation in Bremerhaven. And that's why we will also take a look at some cabins. Here we can see a standard inside cabin, and as you can see, cabin size is rather small, but the design is again very unique. Of course, we will find unique design everywhere in the ship. And there's a reason why the cabins are a bit smaller than on other ships. We'll come back to this later in the video. Here we can see a standard outside cabin with a small window. Looks basically the same like the inside cabin, but comes of course with a window. Otherwise it's more or less the same. We are continuing on to the front of the ship, and here we have a 3-bed cabin. So this sofa here on the left side can be folded down and becomes a bed, and then we have 2 beds on the right side of the cabin. Here we can see this cabin, the picture as well. Of course this is an inside cabin as well. We're now continuing our tour to the front of the ship. There are no more cabins to see, so we're heading now back to the staircase to go up one more deck to the Kapitän's Deck, which means Captain's Deck. And here we do have the reception, the information and onboard travel agency. So here you can book the excursions, you can get some information about the ship, and you will find all important crew members regarding questions and one space. Otherwise on this deck there are only cabins, so we can continue on deck number 5, which is the Deutschland deck, so the Germany deck. And this is the first deck which has public areas only. We're starting after the ship with the Restaurant Berlin, which is the main restaurant on board. And as you can see, this is a absolutely beautiful and stunning restaurant. Like everywhere on the ship, you have the feeling to be in a 5-star hotel. Even though MS Deutschland is only classified as a 4-star vessel, which is mainly because of the small cabins. Otherwise, all public areas are at least 5-star, if not even 5-star superior standard. The only downside of this restaurant, and this is typical for Dialman ships, are the wooden chairs. I just don't think they are too comfortable, but that's of course a question of personal taste. And we are continuing on into the gallery. This is this hallway which we can see here, which you find on a lot of old ships, but almost on no more new ships because it's taking away just too much space. But of course it gives also the atmosphere of an old ocean liner. And here we have the first lounge, the Salon Liily. And as you can see, this is again absolutely stunning, just incredibly beautiful. You have the feeling to be on a sailing ship, maybe on a very old sailing ship, but not on a regular German cruise ship. Here we can see a picture of Peter Dialman. He was the owner of the former shipping company that owned this ship until bankruptcy, and then Phoenix Reisen took the ship over, and since then it is traveling as a regular German cruise ship. Cruises on this ship are still not cheap, but significantly lower priced than with Dialman. Of course, a cruise on this ship cannot be cheap because this ship only has 550 guests on board maximum, which makes her a very, very small cruise ship, one of the smallest regular cruise ships in service. And now we are in the most famous room of this ship, and this is the Kaisersaal. The translation for this would be Imperial Hall. And this is a show lounge, this is a theater, and as you can see, it looks like a theater. You would think you're in an opera house, but this is the show lounge on a cruise ship. Can you imagine? This is what makes this ship so unique. You would for sure not expect this to be on a cruise ship. But this is the typical design of MS Deutschland. This is what makes her one of the most unique cruise ships in the world. We are now going one deck higher. Just for a short moment we're going to the Commodore deck, where we have the gallery of the Kaisersaal. Only a downside of the Kaisersaal is that it is not in the shape of a typical theater, so all seats on the lower deck are on the same level and all seats on the upper deck are on the same level, so the view can be obstructed. But here from the gallery, at least if you sit on the right side, you have a quite good view. If you're sitting on the left side, you will have almost no view of the stage, but especially in case that there is a singer or any other show where you don't need to see the stage, it's still quite nice to sit here and just listen to whatever's happening on the stage. Same applies for these seats here, because now we are above the stage, so from here of course you'll also not have a view of what's happening on the stage, but you can take a look at this magnificent theater which we can see here in the picture. Also, if you take a look at those pictures, you would not expect this to be on a cruise ship. You would think this is a theater in a very rich city, but it is the theater of MS Deutschland. We're now back the other side of the Kaisersaal. Now we're heading back down to the Deutschland deck for a short moment. Here we can head outside, here we have a promenade, and from this promenade we can go up back to the Commodore deck. Commodore deck also has mainly public areas, but there are also a few cabins. We're going to take a look at those cabins in a second. But now it's time to tell you why the cabins are small. That was intentional, because Peter Dialman wanted the guests to spend most of the time in the public areas of the ship with the other guests together, to have a nice atmosphere on board, instead of spending the time on their own in the cabins. And that's why he made sure that the public areas of the ship are extremely nice and beautiful, and the cabins are slightly smaller. And that is also the reason why he decided to not build balconies. The ship was built in 1998. Back then it was an absolute standard that all cruise ships do have as much balconies as possible. MS Deutschland had almost no balconies at all. They're just a handful of cabins with a proper balcony. Here we can take a look at one of those cabins. Those are only the suites. Only the most expensive cabins on board do have real balconies. Here we can see a balcony. This is cabin 7015, which is actually the only cabin on deck 7 with a proper balcony. All other cabins on this deck didn't have any balconies at all with Dialman. When Phoenix took the ship over, of course they had to do something about this, because nowadays almost nobody will spend a lot of money for an expensive cabin if it doesn't have a window that you can open. So the solution was the same that is used on river cruise ship where space is also limited, because it was not possible to just add a balcony, because that would make the ship wider and this brings a lot of problems. But there was an easy solution, and that was to build French balconies. Here we can see such a French balcony, meaning you can open the window completely, but then you have the barrier right behind it, so you cannot step out of the balcony. That's a French balcony, and this was installed in as much cabins as possible. We are now heading aft of the ship, and here we are going through the so-called Colonnaden, which means colonnades, and this is a shopping area of the ship. So here we have the onboard shop where you can buy jewelry, souvenirs, clothing. There's also onboard travel agency where you can book your next cruise. The gold and silver service is available here. You have a hairdresser and many other possibilities. Photoshop is here as well. And from the colonnades we can go on further aft of the ship to the second restaurant on board. Another important big restaurant on board is the restaurant 4 Jahreszeiten. Before that, here we have the second staircase again, and then we are reaching the restaurant 4 Jahreszeiten. And this restaurant has a separate which is called the Kanzlerzimmer, which means chancellor room. And this can be used for a captain's dinner, for example, for special occasions. You can just use this room with one big single table, which can be separated from the rest of the restaurant. Now we can take a look at the rest of the restaurant, Restaurant 4 Jahreszeiten, which just basically means 4 seasons restaurant. It's a bit smaller and slightly less luxurious than the first restaurant, especially now here in this shot the tables weren't set up. Of course it looks a bit more luxurious when the tables are completely set up. And now we're getting to the most famous bar of the ship, and that is the Bar zum Alten Fritz. And this is a very old-fashioned traditional bar, and it was part of a lot of scenes in the TV show Traumschiff. Traumschiff is a very famous German TV show. Translation is the dream ship, and it can be a bit compared to the Love Boat, for example. And MS Deutschland was the ship that this series was produced on from 1999 to 2015. So it is a very, very famous ship in Germany, and a lot of shots were taken here in this Bar zum Alten Fritz. We are heading back down one deck again, back down to the Deutschland deck. Only accessible via these stairs. We do have the sports and spa area right aft of the ship, and it's only accessible with these stairs because in between of this area and the restaurant Berlin there is the kitchen, so that's why there is no hallway which leads directly to the restaurant. You can only access this area from one deck above. Here we have the sauna, which is very nice because it comes with windows, and you have a very nice view over the stern wave of the ship. From here we can go to the other side, and there we have the fitness area, the gym. And the gym is pretty spacious for a ship of this size. Remember, we have only 550 guests on board maximum, and therefore this is quite a spacious gym. So I've seen smaller gyms on much bigger ships, so I was very impressed by that. Very nice gym. And from here we're heading back up. Can take a look here at this promenade on the side. So this is covered area that you can also use if the weather is not good. Here you can also play the famous cruise ship game Shuffleboard. And now we're going back up one deck to the Admirals Deck. Here on the Admirals Deck we have mainly cabins. Almost all of them have a French balcony, except 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Those cabins do have proper balconies. Here we are in cabin 8001, which is one of the biggest and most expensive cabins on board. And take a look at this suite here, and this suite comes with a proper balcony. The bedroom and the living area are a bit divided from each other, and here we do have the small balcony, but a proper balcony, which is, as I explained, pretty rare on MS Deutschland. This is the furthest to the front that we can get, because in front of these cabins is the bridge, so of course we cannot access this area then, and that's why we're now heading aft of the ship, taking a look at other cabins. But first we're going to the other side and take a look at cabin 8002, and in between we can take a look at the cinema. The cinema is also rather spacious. If you remember that we have only 550 guests on board, so cinema can be used for conferences and of course for showing a movie. And now we're heading to cabin 8002, which is another cabin with a proper balcony. As you can see, it looks different than 8001, so different layout. Also very interesting and nice layout, but different. And from here we are heading aft of the ship. We have some more cabins that we can take a look at. Here we have another rather big cabin, but this one, as you can see, has only a French balcony and again a different layout. So as you can see, there are quite a lot of different cabin categories on board, so make sure if you want to book a cruise to choose the correct one, the one that suits your needs. Here we have another cabin with French balcony, but a different layout once again. And now we're heading further on, because right after the ship we have some more public areas. Of course we have another sun deck area, another outdoor terrace here, and from here we can access the library. The library is also called Admirals Lounge, and we can take a look at it now. Of course, you have a wide selection of books that you can either read here or borrow, take to your cabin or take to any other public areas, of course as long as you return them at the end of the cruise. And we also have some computers here in case you want to use one. Yeah, this is the Admirals Lounge, and that means that we have now also seen all public areas on deck 8 and a few of the cabins. We're now continuing on to deck number 9. As I said, I'm unfortunately not traveling with the MS Deutschland. I would love to, but in this case I was traveling with a different ship, which you can see here in the background. So in the next video you will see another ship tour of the ship, which we can see behind. But more about this ship in the next video. Now let's focus on MS Deutschland. As I said, a very famous ship in Germany due to its appearance in the show Das Traumschiff. It has been replaced by another ship of Phoenix Reisen. Nowadays the series is produced on MS Amadea. Now we are on the Lido deck, deck number 9, the highest deck on board. Here we have the Lido bar and the Lido grill. So here you can also enjoy your food outside in the sun if the weather permits. Of course you also can get some nice drinks. And now we are continuing on to the front of the ship where we will end our tour, but there are still a few things we can take a look at, because here on the Lido deck we only have public areas. For example, we have the Lido restaurant, which is a buffet restaurant on board. Quite traditionally there are 2 a la carte restaurants and 1 buffet restaurant, a less formal alternative to those 2 a la carte restaurants. Therefore also it has a slightly less spectacular interior design, but if you compare this buffet restaurant with buffet restaurants on more modern ships, of course it is still extremely beautiful and probably one of the most beautiful buffet restaurants on the 7 seas. I'm very grateful that there is a ship like MS Deutschland, and I know that a lot of people do not like the style of this ship because they prefer the typical style that most new cruise ships have. But of course there are also people who do not like the standard style of ships, and this is the perfect ship for all those people who want to see something special, something unique, something different. If you don't like the mainstream style, this is the perfect ship for you, because MS Deutschland is everything but not mainstream or standard. And I think you've clearly seen this throughout my ship tour. We are now at a so-called Sonnengarten, which means sun garden. This is the main pool area with the main outdoor pool. As you can see, also quite a spacious pool, especially if you consider the size of the ship. Therefore it is pretty nice and spacious pool. And from here we continue on to the front. Of course, here we also have a bar. This is the pool bar. And from here we can go to one more indoor area of the ship, and this is the Lido Terrasse, which means Lido Terrace. And yes, it is an indoor area. I was also expecting a terrace to be an outside area, but Lido Terrace is an inside area. It's a panoramic lounge with a bar. This has a bit of a different style. It's much brighter than the rest of the ship. There's almost no dark wood that is used everywhere else in the ship. Main colors are white and blue, so a bit different style than the rest of the ship, but also very, very elegant and beautiful. As you can see here, it's kind of a panoramic lounge. You have a 180 degrees view, but it's completely covered by a promenade outside, so it's kind of an obstructed view. But if the weather's not good, this is the place to be. For example, if the ship is sailing into a fjord in Norway or any other spectacular area. From here you will have the best views inside the ship. Of course, outside you have nicer views, but if the weather is not too good, this is the place to be. And from here we are now continuing, heading back out again, before we can take a look at this piece of art, which is the centerpiece of this lounge. Outside onto the sun deck, and here we have some more space for sun loungers, and of course to enjoy the view. This is also the best place to go if the weather is good and the ship is going into some spectacular places, because from here you have the best view, of course. As you can see, a lot of space for sun loungers. As you can see, some of them are also already here. Of course, as I said, I visited the ship before embarkation, so not everything was set up yet. But I think you can still get a very good impression of how beautiful this ship is. And there's also the possibility to go up one more deck with some more sun lounges available, and also a sports area at the rear part of this highest deck, which does not have a name because it's not considered to be an own deck, it's just considered an extension of the Lido deck. And now that we've seen this sports area, we have actually seen all public areas of MS Deutschland and a selection of her cabins. I hope you liked this ship video. I hope you liked the ship. I hope it was interesting for you. Here you can see when the next video will be uploaded, which is another ship tour. And of course the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link. And I hope to see you in my next video then.